Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Joker movie review. I just got back from seeing the new Joker movie and I'm going to be sharing my spoiler-free thoughts on it. This new Joker stars Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, our new Joker, or a version of a Joker we got, and I'm just going to be talking about the movie, trying to avoid any major spoilers. That being said, it's kind of tough not to when it's very much Taxi Driver, but with Joker elements and stand-up comedy versus driving taxis. But that being said, I thought this was still a very well done movie. Excellent performance by Joaquin Phoenix. I had a problem with a few little things, but those were very personal. Those were personal to my own preference for certain things. So that part, I was like, okay, he still did a great job kind of bringing this character to life. This version that they came up with, which is definitely not the Joker I grew up with, the Joker I think of when I think of the Joker. But that, like I said, I was trying to put my own personal biases aside in order to review this movie, and when I was watching it, trying to keep an open mind about it, despite I had some of my own personal reservations, things I wasn't excited about this movie to be made. So I did try to put that aside to watch this movie. But that being said, it was well done, well acted. I can't pick apart anything like that. My only problem with it, like I said, is it was a little too much for me, reminiscent of Taxi Driver. At least I haven't seen King of Comedy, which might reflect it even more. But those are also things that the director Todd Phillips said he was trying to go for. So it was a very weird feeling for me, because it's like, this is a Joker movie, but he was also trying to make a movie similar to Taxi Driver, but with the Joker character. So it was just kind of, I don't know, it was tough to get that out of my mind going into this, to be completely without a bias against it, or like a preconceived notion of what it should be or what it might be. I try not to have expectations going into this movie or going into any movie, but this one's been a very weird movie for me, because normally I'm just super excited about all superhero or comic book related movies coming out, but this one to me felt weird. At first, my problems were with it just that being a Joker origin movie, and I was like, I don't like the Joker having an origin. I like it being all over the place. Then once I got over that feeling, because I'm like, well, Elseworlds, you can have different stories and da da da. That once I got kind of past that feeling, at least, then it was kind of on to the, okay, well, what makes this a Joker movie and not, just a comedian who has a bad day? What makes it a Joker movie? To me, Joker is a Batman villain. So that was a little bit, these are all things I was trying to kind of wrap my head around going into this, and trying to keep separated while watching it, because it was, it's supposed to be about this DC villain and his kind of origin story, and how we could get this, very unique version of it. This is, like I said, not the Jokers I've ever gotten in my lifetime, from many of my iterations I've gotten, that being Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill in the animated, etc., etc. So that was a very weird thing for me, trying to kind of separate these two, watching it as purely a movie without trying to judge it based off of its DC things and its connection to the DC universe. So it was a tough one. Sometimes I felt the DC / Joker stuff was a little bit of a gimmick in order for them to have just made this movie. It didn't help that the director kind of made a comment about that too. So this movie, yes, just all around was very weird for me, at least mindset wise. But that being said, I still think it was a well made movie. It was well acted, well performed. The pacing to me was very well done. I thought it breezed kind of by. It kept me on my the edge of my seat. It did a great job evoking feelings I think they were trying to evoke. I was very, very uncomfortable and felt very cringeworthy was the only way to kind of describe it. Not in a bad way, but in the way that they were intending, of being like, you should be kind of creeped out by this, or kind of feel a little like, ooh, don't do that. So I think that was their intent, and if it was, they were successful, at least with me. A couple times I was just like, oh, I couldn't even watch some of this stuff, and it was just very offsetting and uncomfortable. But like I said, I think that was the intent of it. So that being said, I thought they did a good job with that. It was a really well told story for the most part. Like I said, there's a couple little spoiler things that I felt, logically, or kind of, connection to the DC universe wise, has a little problems with, but overall I think it's a well-made movie. If you've never seen Taxi Driver before, or don't really know what it's about, and don't really have too much of a background on the Joker even, or your own preconceived ideas about the Joker. That's one thing I had to get past for this one. So if you don't have those two biases that I had going into this, I feel this movie, you'll probably love this movie because it's just is a well done movie. It's just like Taxi Driver is a modern classic, or a classic in general. I don't know when a movie becomes a classic versus a modern classic. I don't know what that time frame is, but that being said, it is definitely considered as one of the great movies in cinema history. So that being said, if you hadn't seen it and didn't have that like perspective, I could see how this would kind of be your Taxi Driver. Or if you just like that in a sense that it's that, I'm trying not to focus too much on the fact that it's Taxi Driver, but that's what definitely stuck out for me about this movie. But like I said, though, it still was well done. It's definitely not a Batman movie. It's definitely not for kids. Do not take kids to this. Don't think that your kids might be mature enough for this. This has a R rating I think it's R rated actually. If it's not R rated, it definitely should be, because this is brutal. It's not meant for kids, especially some of the themes. The kids, I think this is definitely one of those ones, if you try to bring your kids, they'd be bored, because this is a lot of a kind of, it's a character study about this character. So it's, that would just bore kids. It's not an action heavy one. They'd probably like the few scenes where he gets beat up, but those are very short parts of this almost 2-hour movie. I think it was 2 hours. Timeline wise, it felt that way, but overall, like I said, I think if you have an interest in this movie and you were kind of curious about checking it out, I'm not gonna say don't check it out. I personally just won't be revisiting anytime soon. For me, like I said, it kind of felt a little too reminiscent of Taxi Driver and didn't do enough to kind of distinguish itself enough from that for me personally, as well, not being enough of a superhero / actual like comic book movie, for me at least, for me to like want to revisit it as much as I definitely revisit all the other superhero movies that I really love. But yes, that's my spoiler free thoughts on the Joker movie. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if you're going to be planning on checking out the Joker movie. If you're curious about my spoiler thoughts and a little bit more in general thoughts about the concept, about these biases that I kind of mentioned throughout this one a little bit more in depth, I will be doing just a general thoughts video on Joker, which, like I mentioned before, I'll link everywhere, cards, end of the thing, down in the description. But yeah, be sure to check that out if you're curious about that. But yes, thanks again for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.